Hi everyone, welcome to The Path to Reason. I'm Cindy Plaza, and with me today I have the mighty Oz. Hi.
Mute Oz. What's up, Cindy? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's been a struggle, let's say, for us to be on this show today. Um, but we're here, and I'm really glad because we've been circling around each other for a while now and being on the same show sometimes, but we never actually sat down and talked to each other like this. So I'm glad we can tonight.
Absolutely.
Well, it's obviously today for you. You have a beautiful weather behind.
Yes, it is gorgeous today. That's why I was telling Cindy I started getting prepped well earlier than I normally do. And the last thing that I ever thought would not work was my mouse, and my mouse decided not to work. So it's my fault as usual that we start late.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Um, Before we go into this discussion, I want to ask you a question I ask to all my guests. Um, you are an atheist activist. If we take that away from you, what's left? If who is us, the human being?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, first and foremost, I'm a father of four amazing children. My oldest being 21, and my youngest being 6. And then, obviously, I am honored to call Jenna my girlfriend. So that's pretty badass. And then outside of that, the most intimate things to me, then a musician. I love music, whether it's playing drums, rapping, freestyling, DJing. That's always been kind of my, as far as hobbies or passions, my first love, so to speak. And yeah, you take atheism and YouTube and all that away. Those are the things that keep me going. So
Cool. Um, just I would like to say hi to everyone in the chat. Hi, Jonathan, Aaron Colson, Jenna, of course, Ascalon, who is always there, Wes, uh, who else? There's someone called the Path to Reason in the chat. I don't know who that is. So, hi, everyone. So, um, you wanted to talk about this Jesus is the Myth website you have. Can you tell us more about this?
yeah, so jesusisamyth.com. Actually, Aaron Colson there in the chat had uh, reserved and purchased that domain for us, but that will link you to the Eventbrite site where you can buy or purchase reservations for Better, the event we have coming up on June 25th and 26th in Fort Wayne. And it's a 2-day event. Seth Andrews, Shannon Q, Paula Gia, Dr. Yashua Bowen, Dave Warnock, Cynthia McDonald, myself, and several others will be there. And it's going to be, there'll be a lot of information, education, but there's also going to be a lot of damn fun.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, well, you have kind of an amazing panel there. So you mentioned education. Is that an important theme for you in your activism?
Yes, specifically for me being a former Christian, evangelical, charismatic Christian, there's a lot of especially when it comes to the text, the Bible, is really one of my primary focuses as far as education is concerned, because there's so many things left out by Christian pastors that they cherry pick what they do and don't want you to know, what they do and don't want you to learn. And like Dr. Josh's his main speech, or presentation, is how we use, specifically the Old Testament, how we can use that in conversation to show the inconsistencies and show the flaws within the text, to make you have to ask questions and ask the tough questions, and it not be, a fight or a debate. It's just, this is what it is. Let's talk about it. So that I find that very important.
Yeah, I sometimes think that there is a huge gap between the theist way of thinking and the non-theist way of thinking. And sometimes this gap is way too wide to have a meaningful discussion, because they are taught very, very young that this God exists, and everything that all the knowledge that builds where they grew up, it sits on this. It's based on this. It's like the soil, and when the roots are getting down, they feed on this, and the tree would fall without this dirt, and because of this, they cannot think in a different way. They go from there, and then they try to find their way back to prove it. Whereas for someone who, like me, who never actually believed, I see things and I judge them, and then depending on this judgment, then I believe them or not. And this fundamental difference is what we should focus on, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is well, one, it's a fascinating conversation. Anytime I get to talk to, what I call atheists, where there's never been a deeply held belief, and so talking to you, talking to Pasta Mike, or it's escaping me now the others, but it's fascinating because it is a completely different lens, and it, it's fascinating to me because to you guys, it's almost like this. What? You guys read that and took that from it? You guys read that and that's what you extrapolate from that? Because that's crazy. That's nonsense. Where even now as a former believer, I'm like, no, I know exactly how I got there. When I read it, but what to the point you hit, I was trained, I was indoctrinated to read it and take that from it. So I was never taught critical thinking. I was never taught to be skeptical of it. It was, this is how we read it, and because this is how we read it, this is then how we interpret it and how we apply it to our day-to-day lives. So when you're taught that and you're prescribed that, from a young age, critical thinking and skepticism is automatically right out the window.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, Kat. Good to see you. Yes, this different point of view you're talking about is what actually brought me to start a channel, because my first contact with the American atheist community was with Ethan Michael, and then I got invited in a few other shows, and when people heard me talking, they said you should talk, you should start a channel. But I don't focus too much on this because I know that Americans tend to be they are indoctrinated. Apart from the religious side, they are also indoctrinated into believing that they're the greatest country on earth. And if you contradict this, sometimes you get strong reactions. So I try to find the right balance between showing that this is not true, and not making too many enemies. But this different point of view, I think it's important because when you are raised as a theist, you can only see the world through that until you are taught differently.
Yeah, so there's a lot I could unpack there, but let's go back to the potential conflict, that attacking these things can cause. And this, this has been something that I've, in the last 60, 90 days, first of all, in my own mind, have been going back and forth and back and forth on, and even in conversations with others. There, this line has become very blurred to me as far as um, how quote unquote soft or passive we should be versus how demanding or aggressive we should be as far as evidence and good reason to believe in the reason I say this. uh, I've had this conversation with a handful of people, especially since the Roe v. Wade uh, shit's popped off, and it are we really seeing a benefit? Are we truly um, making up ground or progressing or anything by coddling, so to speak, or being gentle and soft all the time? Are we really making a difference, or are we enabling by having that position or that approach? So I'm now more leaning to the demanding side and the more aggressive side, because if Roe v. Wade, if that's still actually something that we're going to, we're not let's just say we're not doing our job. If that's still something that we have to fight and we have to rally the troops, so to speak, we're not doing something right, and I don't mean to take that politically, but that's just the example of we have to be louder. And this whole patty caking thing, to me, I'm again, I will always be behind. We attack the belief and not the person, or the bad idea and not the person. I'm not here to attack people, but I don't think we can coddle and be gentle with the bad ideas anymore, because the bad ideas are hurting and killing people.
Yes, that's exactly what I was saying a couple hours ago. Um, yeah, but this issue you're talking about, to be louder, it's in the US. I think it's hard because if you advocate for atheism only, um, then you attack a certain set of beliefs you know is wrong and is harmful. But if you want people to go vote and be more active to defend those things, you also have to get into the political arena where things are much less obvious, and it's much harder to be an advocate for a certain set of political ideas than for activism.
Yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, they do eventually intersect, and that's just the fact of the matter. There's going to be an intersection. They're going to cross paths, and then it just makes it more muddy, because now we're talking about compounding bad ideas, compounding bad beliefs, and and that's why that's why I'm just at the point where you're not going to get through, and you're not going to make change, and you're not going to see, whether it's political agendas or religious agendas or social agendas. You're not going to see the impact. You're not going to see the change by just telling everybody, why can't we be friends? You can't be everybody's friend. You're going to piss people off, and um, yeah, I think that's something that we need to be less uh, worried about, if we really want to see change happen. I think we have to be less concerned of hurting people's feelings.
I think you agree because this movement, the anti-abortion movement, it's led by a very strong minority. So if you piss people off, you piss off a small portion of the people, um, and that's, I guess, the problem in the US. And one of the first thing that puzzled me when I started to discover the politics is the single issue voters. I didn't know that existed before I ran into this in the US, uh, because these issues are so entrenched into their identity that if you attack those beliefs, then for them you attack them personally, and that's why it's so hard, and that's why you create so much tension and anger.
Yeah, and that's why I totally agree, Cindy. I totally agree, and that's why my position, like I said, especially like the last 90 days, my position, my approach has slowly been morphing or evolving, uh, because it's not a me problem that not you, but that the theist has um, built their identity based on a book or based on a theology or based. That's not a me problem. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem, theist. That's a you problem. And now I'm here to, if you're willing, to help walk you through it and talk you through it and ask the questions and challenge if that's what you're willing to do. But if you hold that position of hellfire and brimstone, and you're gonna hurt people or potentially hurt people, harm people, or even kill people, um, based on or due to your bad ideas or beliefs, I frankly don't give a shit if you don't like me. I frankly don't give a shit if I hurt your feelings, because I'm more worried about the people that you're going to cause like physical harm to or trauma or things like that. I'm more worried about them than I am your little feelings in your little book.
Um, Recently, I've changed my view about critical thinking. Um, I used to see it as a part of a two-side component, let's say. But now I realize that in fact it's three components. If you want to think more rationally in general, you need to work on three things. You need to work on your emotions, because emotions, they tend to cloud our judgment and our thinking, and that's based on our evolution. Like when you're running from danger, you don't need to think, you need to run, and so all the blood goes down to the heart and the members involved. So you need to be aware of your emotions, of what triggers them, and that's very important. And I mentioned that because critical thinking is important, but people need an emotional incentive to think more critically. How do you think we can help with that?
Man, I think that's the question of our lifetime. And I'll be, I'll keep it, as the cool kids say, I'll keep it 100. I'm a very emotional creature, and I wear my emotions on my sleeve. And I remember, especially when I was first deconstructing and deconverting, I couldn't have a, let's say, intense or heated conversation with a current theist, because a lot of that was still coming out and bleeding. I still had that bleeding heart, and the emotions got in the way. And it's very, very different now than it was then. But to answer your question, the emotional appeal, yes, that's going to be there, and we do. I think a lot of times have to, actually, most times probably, have to appeal to that emotional connection that they do have, because even through whether they came to believe through indoctrination or a traumatic moment or whatever it is, there's that emotional tie to that belief. And you know, if you go and like even if you go to Neil 604 Atheist channel and you go through the all the what 400 or 500 different stories he has on there, there's one main thing that I take away anyway from not all but most of those stories is there was that aha moment where it's like, hold on, this particular thing doesn't make sense, and it's something that hit them from it, whether it was well, mom always taught me this, or dad always taught me this, or somebody that they really trusted and they really looked up to and admired had told them this thing, and now they have this emotional clash of, oh man, is mom and are mom and dad correct? Is pastor correct? Or is this correct? And that's emotional. Like for me, that's part of what happened. That was part of that. Well, hold on, mom and dad, and my brother's a pastor. They this is what I've always known, or at least told that this is true. Now I have a lot of conflicting evidence or good reason to believe that this is not true. And I think for most, it, even if we can get them there, where we don't push them over the ledge, we just show them that we're emotionally they're conflicted on, well, do I trust mom and dad or do I trust the facts? Do I trust pastor or do I trust the facts? And then or I'm sorry, that in of itself, I think is a great starting point if we can get them to even come to the table and sit and go there.
Yeah, and this reaction is visceral because again, it's an evolutionary threat to believe in our parents because a child who doesn't do what their parents told them, they die in nature. So we are programmed as animals to believe into uh, the concept of higher authority, and that's why God is posed as the ultimate authority. It's because the religions use that.
Yeah, it's man, because the other emotional part of it, on that is for me it was even the attachment to or um the degree in which I was um or that I believed and really thought that like heaven and hell were real, and that was probably my greatest emotional connection to the faith because of the fear. It wasn't the wish, the wishing and the wanting um, for heaven. I rarely thought about heaven, but it was that emotional fear and trembling of the thought of hell and burning and gnashing of teeth and torture and so I mean so much so I had to go to therapy for 2 or 3 years just to remap my brain to understand that's not real, Oz. That's not real. So there's if some of those things, whether it's just historical facts, biblically that we can show and inconsistencies, or starting the question to the emotional appeal or the emotional conversation to do with the afterlife, because that's one of the greatest emotional attachments that most theists have to their faith is that the hope of e- of eternal life and all that bullshit in heaven, and then the fear attached to hell.
Yeah, it's basically the carrot and the stick.
Mhm.
This always works. Yeah, I wanted to point out two comments Jenna posted here. So one is, yes, about fear. Christianity, especially, and Islam are very, very fear-based. Um, and the other one was this one. It's when you have that belief that's part of your identity, and you separate from it, everyone who shared this identity is going to react strongly, and that causes a lot of problems in families. Was it the case in your family?
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit. Um, no, it still does. We're talking years, years later, and that part of it is frustrating, and not just for me. Even when I have to um, see and watch and hear others, walk through it, and it's not every case. Not every person, goes through that, and some are worse than others. But it's um, you know, like for example, I think maybe 0 times, but I think one time I've spoken to my brother since my mom's funeral. Um, and other than my dad, my stepdad, I have no, like, 0 relationship. Well, Aunt Kathy, I'm sorry, Aunt Kathy, and her daughters, but, outside of that, the there's no relationship, no communication, no anything. Whereas before, and even all the quote unquote friends I had when I was a Christian, I have 0 of those relationships. None. None. So it wasn't that they really, um well, my perspective, my reality, let's say this. It's not that they ever really truly, I guess, cared or wanted to be in a friendship or relationship or whatever with me. It was just a relationship of convenience that we believed the same thing. We went to the same church, but as soon as that there was a detour from that, or I took a different path, well, for whatever reason, we we're not friends anymore, or we don't have conversations anymore, and it's heartbreaking because uh, I'm still the same Oz. As far as I've always loved people. I've always loved helping people. I've always been the fun loving smartass. That's always been me. That hasn't changed. In essence, the only thing that changes, I don't believe in your God anymore, and it sucks that so many people will abandon friendships or relationships with family based on an idea and a belief. It sucks.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. I didn't have this with religion, but with my transition. Um, it's it's only when you hear something like "I need to mourn my big brother" that you understand this kind of issues. That you are not just who you think you are. You are the image you project onto people and the image they get from this. And when this image is contradicted by anything, it's hard to cope with that for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I always try to put in any conversation. I do my best to try to put myself in other people's shoes, and I think that's a healthy thing to do, to try to understand others' perspectives and how they may see or view things or come to understand things. So I do get that, but for especially family and your closer friends, your more intimate friends. Um, to me anyway, there's no damn excuse. You know who I am. You know who I am. You know what I'm about. You know what I stand for, what I don't stand for. You know how I treat the people around me. You know how I take care of the people around me. You know how hard I love and how hard I care about, those that are around me. And to just displace me or abandon me or anyone, just because I don't believe what you believe anymore. And I try to encourage people. It says a lot more about the other person than it says about us. It says a lot more about them than it ever does about us. And I try to hold on tight to that because I haven't changed as far as who I am. Integrity, honesty, consistency. All of that. I try to be a model of that. And not just here, not what we do, but for my most important, for my damn children. And to be, be a model of that. So if people lose sight of that because I don't believe in their deity, maybe we're better off not being friends anyway, because it's probably going to end up, being um, a worse ending had we, had conflict or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and yeah, I have two things to say to this. It's always puzzling to me that this religion that is supposed to be based on love, because that's God is love, you have to love your neighbor, etc., etc. They put their the image they have of you above this love they have for you, and I find that weird, because it's I was going to say it's just a belief. Of course, it's not just a belief, but you know what I mean. And I lost the other one.
No, it's no, I love that you brought that up. If Pasta Mike's in the chat, he's gonna love this, because um, it's one of my favorite kind of exercises, or I don't know if you want to call it a thought experiment, but we'll call it that just for the conversation. But when that comes up in conversation, whether I'm talking to somebody that's that is entrenched in their belief, or maybe they're questioning or doubting, the the thought of God, this Yahweh God, Bible God, being an all loving thing, deity, whatever, is it's 100% bullshit. It's 100% bullshit, and all you have to do is go to Corinthians, and get your book out, go to Corinthians, and I think it's 2 Corinthians 12 or 13, and let's print it out, or let's write them out. Let's write out the characteristics or the ways that the Bible prescribes for us, how what love should look like, how it should behave, how it should act, how it should treat people. Let's put it on paper, and let's go step by step through each one of them, and let's now overlay that on top of this Yahweh character, and let's see if he even lives up to his definition and his characteristics of love. And just about every single one, he misses the mark. So don't tell me that your God is love, and don't appeal to love, and don't appeal to the this all loving, nurturing, caring. It makes me want to vomit. Think about, because he's not that, and he does not model that. If anything, especially in the Old Testament, he's the polar opposite of what is prescribed in Corinthians. And it's then what's ironic is when we do that and we apply it to Yahweh God, but then we look at the behavior and the modeling of the said love by the Christian community. They don't know the first damn thing about love. They don't know the first damn thing about truly showing someone love, and knowing how to love someone, and knowing how to be there against all odds, be there no matter what, and not just jump ship because they don't like something, or not just jump ship and abandon just because it doesn't line up to a T the way they think that it should line up. And so yes, that was a very long-winded to it, but that's an area I love. I love talking to Christians about, because at the end of the day, it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's the God of the Old Testament is much like the gods of maybe not Egypt, but the Roman and Greek gods, who are always at war, always killing people, always coming into the life of humans to meddle with that. So that's why when I was introduced with the concept at school, at first I believed it because that's what you're supposed to do. But very fast I was introduced with some contradictions, like dinosaurs and I mean Eve. That's an obvious one, and that's the one that struck me. But yeah, it's really frightening when you see the power of indoctrination, when you read the Old Testament and you hear people say, yeah, that's the God of love. That says a lot about the power of indoctrination.
Yeah. uh, Jen and I were well, I don't know if you saw it or not. I had posted on Facebook and Twitter. It was yesterday or the day before that I said, think about this. The only time that murder and rape and homophobia and transphobia and child molestation and you go down the list. The only time that that's ever discussed as being acceptable, any of those issues, is when a god is injected into the conversation. That's disgusting, and that should cause every single human being pause. If you really think about that, that should cause you pause, because I don't give a shit what God it is, whether it's the Yahweh God, the Islamic God, whatever God. If we actually, as human beings in 2022, have to sit down and you as a theist have to whittle through your apologetics to get around those issues, it's already fucked. It's already a train wreck, right? So let's stop doing that. Let's just start loving people and caring about people and letting people live their best, happiest life, and quit with all that hate. That's what it is. Quit with all the damn hate. It's a waste of time, and it hurts people every single day. Let's stop.
So let's talk about Tang, because that was the topic of the discussion initially. So what is it? Can you explain what's the purpose, how you created it, and what it is now?
So my internet had cut out when you first started asking your question. Can you repeat the first part
Yeah,
again?
what is Tang? Can you talk about it?
Oh yeah, Tang Gang. So obviously, way back in the day, no, a little over 2 years ago, we started as the Atheist Roundtable. It was Pasta Mike and I, and just Jeff, Murder Shed Steve, J Mike, and eventually Ben, and it looked different then as far as structure and format and everything, but still the same. The same approach as far as we want to address the bad ideas and the bad beliefs, but we also want to be human. We want to have fun, you know, and we want to do all that. Uh, and I don't remember when exactly it was, but Mike and I had agreed that I would keep doing the Atheist Roundtable at that time, and then he branched off and started normalizing atheism, which he's been kicking ass doing that, and I it was a several month process. As far as I remember, it was before we ever made the move or anything to like rebrand or rename um, the Atheist Roundtable to Tang. I was trying to figure out what exactly, what did I want it to look like, what was its purpose, and I had purchased the LLC and everything months before we launched anything to do with that. But to answer your question, it is, a lot of people think uh, the Atheist Network Group, that the network is like building a network of shows, or programs or whatever. Yes, that is part of it, but more importantly, to me, it's building a network of like-minded activists, atheists, skeptics. That we help each other, whether it's resources, encouragement, guests, guest appearance, and the really from day one, the cross pollination. That's always been huge to me. And all of us helping each other, because if we go back to what we were talking about earlier, if we're really going to turn up the volume for atheism, lack of belief, skepticism, especially in the states where they just hate us, they hate us. um, we have to work together. There's power in numbers, and the rising tide raises all ships. So that is Tang, and kind of take that, and then the Atheist Your Way part of it, which is brand new, for us, and we're um, still building that out, but we we've uh, we've always been the black sheep in our community, or the hood, as I call it now. We've always been the black sheep, and we've embraced it, and we run it and continue to do that. But over the last 2 or 3 months, I find it more and more important that there's a message out there that lets people know, or at least allows people to experience and know, that you don't have to be an atheist based on someone else's terms, and you don't have to do philosophy, you don't have to do science, you don't have to do, like, let those that are passionate about it and they love it, let them do that. Some people just want to walk away from a belief and have fucking fun, because they've spent their entire lives up to that point just not being able to have fun. Like, they weren't able to do shit. They weren't able to do it, and they just want to have fun. So let them have fun without them having to prove that they can defend their atheism, that they can defend their their best no god argument. Let them have a place to do that. And that's what we're trying to build. Is, yes, there are going to be the elements of education and challenging and attacking the bad ideas and bad beliefs, but there's also going to be a segment or segments that is 100% focused on, let's just, sorry, my phone's going crazy. We're focused on just being who the hell we are, and having fun and enjoying each other as friends and fellow skeptics. But why can we not do that?
Yeah, you mentioned this cross-pollination, and I know that you've been very, very helpful with the PSF network that now changed to Skeptic Haven, and I thank you for that, because yeah, you helped us and the others, West more especially, and so thanks, and thanks again for being here tonight. I think I've never had so much audience watching. Um, so what different shows do you have on Tang?
Oh man, let's see. Right now we have, and this is in no specific order. It's just as my ADHD brain gathers them. So we have. Well, I'm gonna be biased and go first with chopping it up with Jenna and Oz, and her and I. Well, obviously, on screen we flow and vibe with each other very, very well, and we have. I'll throw it out there for the former Christians that are listening. If you listen to, or if you used to listen to Christian hip hop, if you're familiar with Cross Movement, the kind of founder or originator of Cross Movement, the hip hop group, uh, I would say in the last 4 or 5, 6 months, left Christianity. He's now an atheist. And Dr. Joshua Bowen got me in contact. His stage name was Fanatic, and these guys were like actually my idols, my like my heroes in Christian hip hop. It's going to be weird doing this, but we're having him on for an interview to talk about his deconversion, and I might be like a little school kid on that one. But anyway, uh, so there's Chop It Up with Jen and Oz, and then we have the which has become one of my favorites. One, because who's on the panel, but also because I understand the importance of normalizing this conversation. But our LGBTQ plus talk show with Amy and the rest of the gang has one. Like I said, they're a blast. So that it's fun. But I love that one. That one's we do that once a month, and then we have. Uh, 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 what's your story? Which later tonight, Pastor Mike and I will be rapping. We'll be rapping. And then yes, Bryce is right. Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. So we'll Mike and I will go after they're done. Oh, I'm on with Bryce tonight too. Jesus, I forgot about that. Let's see, and then what has quickly become one of our subscriber favorites is becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable, and where we just open up and we talk about real life and the things that you know um, cause anxiety or fear or scare us or whatever, and how can we overcome those things. And we've got an amazing response on that. and I know I'm probably missing things, but then the last one I'll say is the Atheist Your Way. We're actually going to have a show or a time slot titled Atheist Your Way, but it's not going to be myself or any of the people on Tang. It's going to be for those that maybe they're thinking about starting a channel, or they would like to, or maybe they don't have the knowledge or the experience with the technology or software and stuff like that, and they want to be able to stream without worrying about all that bullshit. Um, uh, they have a place where all they have to do is plug in their computer, their camera, and their microphone. We'll stream it on our platform. That way, they have a platform, and we can get their voice, their story, whatever out there, and they don't have to worry about all the nonsense. So,
Yeah, I love that concept.
thank you.
Um, did you think that 5 years ago you would be doing this so much atheism content?
Oh hell no. No, I mean, see, 5 years ago, 5 years ago. Oh man, I haven't even thought about this in a while. 5 years ago, I was at my brother's church. I was the small group director, so I oversaw all of the small groups. I was the full-time drummer. I was a youth leader, and any type of inner city urban ministries and outreach. Uh, I was I was either a speaker or I did some type of hip hop or freestyle or spoken word or something. So no, 5 years ago, I thought I was a passer. I thought I was a passer.
And I'm going to ask you a question, and if you think it's inappropriate, we just skip it. Uh, how was it for your kids to see you get out of religion?
um,
Did they follow you, and or how did it go?
it's it went much smoother than I ever thought it would. But I think the reason why is both, and I didn't even know this at the time. I had no clue. But at the time, their mom was also kind of secretly, or behind closed doors, she was questioning and she was doubting. So she was going to church less, which meant they were going to church less. Then dad isn't going at all. And so it was almost that like unindoctrination, where it was like, as much as they're there, and I think that's why we've seen such a flux of people walking away from faith and religion, was because of, if there's any silver lining to COVID, it's that most of them could not go to church to be indoctrinated. Excuse me. So I think it was the same thing with my kids, where eventually it was almost like they didn't even realize that anything changed or happened, because they were just kind of slowly removed, and weaned off of the placebo, or weaned off of the faith. So there was a very little negatives. If anything, I remember my oldest came and saw me. It was about a year, 2 years ago, something like that, and he brought it up. He was like, "Dad, I don't I don't know if I want to do this anymore." And I was like, "Do what?" Because he was dating a girl that went to the church that we all went to. He was like, I just don't think I don't think all this is true. I don't think it's real." And I was like, "Well, I don't, right?" He was like, "Yeah, that's why I'm talking to you."
Yeah, like you said, indoctrination has to be maintained in order to be effective, because you are, especially in our society right now with social media, you're constantly impacted and hit with um, opposite reactions and opposite knowledge and opposite beliefs, and that's why it needs to be maintained.
Yeah, and theists hate it when, well, I won't say we, because not all skeptics, not all atheists say this. So I'll just say me. They hate it when I say this. I'm pretty damn convinced that if we line them up, whether it's Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, at its core, its fundamentals, they're all cults. They're all cults because it is mental, psychological, emotional branding, and just a consistent flooding of their particular propaganda and their particular um, strategies and ways of thinking and ideas, and they flood you with it, and not just through scripture, but then they have their music and their external books and literature, and now TV shows. It's a constant flood of the message. It's a constant branding in the brain, or of the brain, every single day.
Yeah, yeah. That's why it's so important. What we're doing is we need to provide different content from what they're exposed to usually.
Yeah, and to go back, Cindy, to go back on what we talked about earlier, which I think this is even more, for me personally, is how I get inch closer and closer to kind of the stamp, or the finality, on my position, or new stance or evolution of my approach, is think that through. Like, if we're gonna be skeptics, think that through. They are bombarded and flooded their brain every single day. They listen to it in their car, they listen to it at home, they listen to it in their car, they listen to home, they go to church, they listen to it at home. It is a constant bombardment. Do you think for 1 second that, if we line up 100 people, that out of that 100 people, do we not realize that like 95 of those 100 people, the oh, I love you, brother, sister, whatever, like, I'm here to be your friend, and we're never going to get anywhere. That's a brick wall. You're literally ramming your head into a brick wall. There has to be something else. There has to be, and I'm not saying we go and start punching people in the mouth. I'm not saying that, but we have to make a demand for the evidence. We have to demand that there is a good reason that they and their bad ideas and bad belief get to have such an impact on our culture, our society, our politics, any and all that. We have to start to demand those things, not ask, not please, 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 can I have? No, demand that shit. Demand it.
How do you see the future of American politics in the next few years?
Well,
Because that's part of it, right? Demanding those beliefs and challenging those beliefs, it's part of what needs to happen in the US right now.
yeah, if let's say this, if we don't start to demand, not again, not request, if we don't start to demand evidence and demand good reason that these things should be involved in our politics and our social construct and all that, if we don't start to be more aggressive, in that, what we have now, and again, I am bringing it back up, but Roe v. Wade, like all any and all like that kind of stuff, it's only going to get worse. And a lot of your progressive Christians be like, oh well, these charismatic nut jobs, they're minority of Christian population in the states. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn that they're the minority. Guess what? They're the loudest, because you progressives and whatever, you you're taking the exact same approach that I'm talking about, that a lot of atheists take, or skeptics take, is the passive. Well, let's all be friends and cuddle and snuggle and get along. But I don't see that winning. I don't see that winning or making any ground right now. So to answer your question, it I think if we're not more demonstrable, if we're not more vocal, if we're not more demanding, uh, the we're only going to see more of the Christian nationalism take root and take hold, because they're not afraid of shit. They are not afraid of shit, and they're not afraid to literally just take shit. They're not going to ask. they're just going to take shit. And if we allow that because we all want to be friends and snuggle, then we can't complain because we let them take it and we didn't fight for it.
Yeah, that's part of the message I got from some media in the US after this draft. It's that the far right movement that's trying and almost succeeded to get into power in the US, they don't care about the rules. They take what they want, and the Democrats are just too nice. They just want to be the better person and keep following the rules. But you can't play a game by following the rules if your opponent doesn't. It never works. You never win.
Yeah, it's yeah, when you're playing a game, if you're playing with someone that is not abiding by any of the rules, you in this game is not a board game. It's not a fun family game. This game is the game of life, and we're talking about humans and lives and trauma and uh harm and all that. You you have to be willing. You have to be willing to take on all of the challenges that come along with standing up against and challenging and fighting the opposition, because if they're not going to play by the rules, you have to find a way to overcome that. And if that means you have to go beyond the rules, then do it, because those rules are irrelevant at that point. The rules do not apply because they have already demonstrated they're willing to do whatever they want to do, and that's what I was getting at. So I agree with you. They're going to take and do anything that they want, whether they abide by the rules or not, and they've proven and demonstrated they will over and over and over and over again. So why sit back and, well, I'm just, I'm going to be this or I'm going to be that and play, like you said, play nice or play by the rules or do the right thing. Well, isn't the right thing fighting for those that can't fight for themselves? Isn't the right thing, going and getting outside of ourselves to stand up for those people and making that difference and making that impact? Or is it just being nice? And that's my issue with that.
So everyone in the US, please be sure that you're um, able to vote for the next election in November. Make sure you do. Make sure you go there if you can. Um, yes,
Jesus.
that's an entirely different topic. But yes, when you want to impose a fascist government, fascism is three things: is totalitarian government, it's nationalist, and it's populist. So populism, at its core, it requires to uh, pick a target and other them and push them away and make them the source of all the issues. And so this way, people don't try and focus on you being a fascist. And that works very, very well in the US.
Yeah, like Cindy said, that is a whole other topic that I think hours can be spent on, and that's yeah, that's where we have to be careful, because we could find ourselves right in the middle of that or something very similar to that if we're passive, and uh, that's where we talked about the intersection earlier, and the intersection of a lot of this, whether people want to admit it or not or talk about it or not, a lot of this is originated in or based on their religious models and their theological models and their doctrinal models. So that's why we have to challenge. We have to challenge, and we have to be demanding um, of their reasoning and their logic and why they are where they are and why they believe, because it impacts so many people, so many fucking people. We we have to we have to be more demanding.
And to be clear, we are not saying here that all theists are bad people, that all theists are trying to impose their view of religion to everyone. But this minority is very strong in the US, and that's the people we need to fight.
Yeah, and again, if we take the attack the idea, not the person, approach and model, which I align with. The Yes, I would agree with you, Cindy. That not I don't believe every person is out with that initiative or that agenda. Uh, but what I will say for me, for Oz, you may not as an individual, Christian or Muslim or whatever, you may not as an individual. Unfortunately, you've aligned yourself with the others that that are and do. So you are accountable. You are accountable. You're part of the team. You're part of the team. So you're still accountable, and we still need to have conversations. But no, there's like my stepdad, my godfather. There's those, they would never harm anyone. As Christians, but I still do consider them as playing for the team that is harming people. So they I do, even if it's only this much, there's still at least a dose of accountability that I apply there.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. So we've been on this for an hour. Uh, how do you want to go? Do you have time? Do you want to keep talking about this, or maybe we can do some kind of after show and invite people offline and have a chat? What do you prefer?
Let's do the after show. I think Shane Billowitz wants to see me up close in a tank top. It looks like so. Um, but no, yeah, we can do that. That'll be fun. I have
Yeah,
a time, and then
that's
yeah,
totally not planned because I didn't. I was thinking about this while you were talking, but yeah. So I'm posting the link in the chat. So anyone who wants to join us in the after show, that won't be live because I've had issues recently when doing this, and some people with the names in the YouTube comment of people I know, they came on the show and then they showed some porn, and that's when it's people you don't know, that's okay. But when they have the name tag and the logo of people you know, that's some dedication to show porn to random people. So yeah, anyone who wants to join, just click on the link. And I'm going to thank everyone for showing up today. Again, thank a lot to Oz for being here. It was a very, very nice and interesting chat. Uh, I hope we'll be able to work again soon. I hope Tang gets better and better. I hope the Skeptic Heaven as well gets better. We had a name change last week, and we're still struggling with that. But the shows themselves are pretty good, I think, especially Women Atheist and Mode, because that's one I'm proud of. But all shows on this channel are very, very interesting in their own way. So if you like the show, please like, subscribe if it's not already done. Click on the bell to receive notification. I don't post content regularly, so it's more appropriate in this case to click on the bell because this way you will be notified. Um, if you want to help my channel, I don't have, it's not monetized, so the only thing I have is an Amazon wishlist with books. So you can go down below and have a look at it. And in the meantime, I'm going to say bye to everyone. Thanks for being here, and I see you next time.